Now, I think, in case this gets awkward later, I think I should bring this up now.
Yes.
That, John Bishop, you do have a connection to Tom Cruise.
Yes,
you do?
yes. Yeah, we do have a connection because we were both... I was on Top Gear shortly after Tom was on Top Gear.
This is the star in a reasonably priced car.
The star in the reasonably priced car.
And you did very well, Tom.
I did all right.
Yeah, you're top of the leaderboard. How did you do, John?
Yeah. Well,
Here's the leaderboard. John Bishop, yeah, beat you. 2 seconds.
What happened?
Well done.
Yeah, I changed...
Well done.
And
Through gritted teeth.
Yeah, you can see that. Well done.
I left a bubble for this.
For this to get abused?
Because what happened, there was me, there was Tom Cruise, there was Cameron Diaz, and then Rupert Grint was fourth, wasn't he?
Rupert Grint.
Yes,
Yes.
So a wizard. I even beat a wizard.
You beat a wizard. Not only that, you didn't just beat us, you crushed us. That's 142.8. That's a good full second and a half almost.
I know, and the thing is,
great.
like, you can drive cars and you're interested. I've got zero interest in cars. I literally...
You know what? You chose the wrong profession. Sorry.
And tell me about it. I came away from that thing and I should be an F1 because all it was to me, though, was somebody give me a car and said, it doesn't matter if you crash it. And I thought, this is great. This is like being 17 again on my dad's insurance.
Very good.
I don't know, man.
But only turbo.
You
Crushed
just go round a track. Is that right?
Don't belittle it.
No,
Don't make it sound stupid and pointless.
Hold it. Yes, please. It's very serious. It's actually not just going like there's turns. Like you got to make right turns and left turns.
Oh, it
and-
sounds really hard.
Yeah. Were you already a prankster at 11? Were you one of those kids?
Yeah, I thought things were funny. I mean, I think, yes, I thought there were things that were funny to do. Got in trouble in school a lot, so I guess.
And I hear even your kids now, well, they're 3, they're already being pranksters.
Yeah, so look, my kids are clearly my wife's children, right? They are 3, and they speak fluent Italian, and they're way ahead. My wife's a genius. They're brilliant kids. It is my job to dumb them down. My job to put, the actor in them a little bit. And so I teach them horrible things because remember, it's only the 4 of us. So I just want to hear the shriek from my wife, and I know I've succeeded. So I taught them to put Nutella in their nappy and then go upstairs and take it off and then pick it up and eat it. And the sound you hear... Michael, you have a 15... Who has a 15-month-old? One of you guys does.
Michael, yeah.
Both of us.
Well, both of you do. Okay.
The same
Honestly,
one.
I know
We
you
co-parent.
guys are very elegant. Teach them this move. I promise you it's going to be good. Just do it.
As I'm sure you know, we've had lots of stars of your movies on the show. And then I wasn't sure whether you knew this or not, but apparently you do, that Matthew Perry was on the show and told this extraordinary anecdote involving him thinking he'd spent a night with you, but apparently you do know about it, and there is an M. Night Shyamalan twist to this anecdote.
Well, yeah, so he went on your show and he tells this story of being out with me all night. And then at the end of the night, he's having the greatest time. And at the end of the night, he meets one of his friends and his friend's like, how's it going? And he says, it's the greatest night of my life. I've been hanging out with M. Night Shyamalan. And then the guy turns and says, that's not M. Night Shyamalan. And he's been hanging out with a random Indian dude all night long. So then I'm watching it and here's the twist. We did actually hang out. That's actually what's so astonishing. Okay, so I've pieced it together, and I have a amateur sleuth answer for what happened. So we were hanging out, we were hanging out, and we were having fun, and then Matthew's like, let's go to another place, and I'm like, you know what? I'm a little tired. I'm gonna leave here, and you can go to the other place. Meanwhile, there's this kind of fan that's been hanging about, and he's also Indian. And he's been a big fan. He's come over a couple times, wants to hang out with us, and we're like, hey, it's okay, brother. And he's over there. And what I think happened is that Matthew went on to continue partying, and this other Indian dude joined him. And then later in that evening, his friend came over and said, "That's not M. Night Shyamalan." And then Matthew thought he second-guessed himself that we actually had this evening together. So all these years later, I have to see him because we did hang out. We had a great time, and he was very funny.
Now, weirdly, we have sort of met.
We have kind of met, yeah. Not on the show. This is my first time on. I'm a little nervous, so forgive me if I ramble. But I was doing a Broadway show called Hedwig and the Angry Inch. And I had heard that you were going to be in the audience. And it was this really nasty kind of rock and roll, punk rock musical. And you had sat in the very, very front row, if I'm not mistaken.
In the middle. In the middle of the row. I didn't book these tickets.
Now, and you were with two other guys, and during the show, there's a part where, where Hedwig, who's pretty randy and nasty, there's a good picture of her. She crawls down to the stage and just picks someone in the audience and makes out with them. So I started down. I scanned the crowd. I saw you. I went right for you, and I grammed my tongue down your throat. It was great.
I had the taste of cheap lipstick in my mouth for the rest of the show.
So nice to meet you on this second date.
Nice to talk to you, finally. Now, you've worked with Mr. Tucci, haven't you, Kate?
Yes, hello.
Hi, Kate.
Yeah, see, there he goes, gagging on his booze.
I know. I'm very happy to see you.
Very, very happy to see you too.
So, presumably, you've experienced Stanley's cooking.
No, I haven't experienced Stanley's cooking, which is a tragedy because clearly you're a marvellous chef. But Stanley, do you remember how much you complained when we worked together? He would come into work and he would say, after breakfast, half an hour later, he'd say, I'm starving. I mean, there's nothing to eat in England. I mean, what do you do? There's no food. I mean, this is awful. This is just awful. And then the next day, he came into work carrying this very sort of neat and tidy little cooler bag. Actually, it was quite a large cooler bag, to be fair. And it was full of these perfectly prepared little Tupperwares full of incredible delights. And everyone's like, oh, leaning in. Oh, Stanley. He's like, no.
Well, you have to eat well, don't you? When you're working.
You do have to eat well. I just want to throw in there at this point that I was, in fact, pregnant when we were...
No, I know that.
You didn't even feel pregnant.
No, I know, and I didn't know that, but you told me that on the set. She told me, she said, I can't remember what we were talking about, but you said, I'm pregnant. And she did that scream whisper, you know. Yeah. And I said, oh, yes, I did wonder. Yes.
You look really fat.
Awful.
You look really fat. Your boobs are huge, but you're still not having any of my snacks.
Yeah.
Even though you're eating for two.
Yeah.
You're eating for two. This Tupperware is sealed. You were out and about. You did the traditional pouring the pint of Guinness.
Well, we were shooting at this pub, and they asked me to pour a pint of Guinness, and I thought, this is going to be amazing, and I'm going to crush it. Didn't at all. So there was a crowd of people who were actually in the pub. I think our movie was very tiny, so there was no sort of locking down of sets. We were just there, you know, and people were there.
Free for all.
Free for all. And so there was a crowd of people watching me pour the pint who were very uproarious at first, and they were just like cheering, and then as the pint just turned into a pint of foam, it just kind of dwindled to nothing.
I think we've got a picture of the pint. Yeah.
Foam. I mean,
that is sacrilege. And also, there's a great... I'm going to big up... There's an Instagram account called Shit London Guinness. I don't know, some legend. I think he's from Cork or something, and he basically people send him in these awful pints. Notoriously terrible Guinness here in London. And, you know, it's like no head at all, loads of head. Like sometimes a Guinness, a pint of Guinness in a Heineken glass, like dreadful.
Sacrilege.
But that would be straight on there, yeah.
It could be a celebrity special.
I wasn't there to oversee that. That's terrible.
It was really bad. Even Christopher Walken was like, that's bad.
But how do you get that so wrong?
Well, I thought I was doing all right. And I think it's the angle.
Yes, I think it's the angle. And maybe too much gas in the pipe.
Too much gas in the pipe. Just like Jamie Dornan.
But now, do you have a trick to get into it, do you?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was preparing, I didn't know a Derry accent first off, and then I thought, who do I know? And then I thought, oh, Nadine from Girls Aloud is extremely Derry. And then, I don't know if people will know this, but there was an extremely controversial incident in the early noughties in Ireland.
So good!
It was so good. I feel like it was the first Irish sort of pop culture TV moment. It was Pop Stars, the Irish version, which only had about 50 entrants because we don't have as big a population. So she went on and lied about her age. But she got found out on camera.
Stop it.
Yes.
No.
Oh, no, YouTube it. It's so good.
Lean forward.
Wow.
This is the trick thing.
How old was she? How old was she?
Okay, so she'd gotten into the band, and then her on-camera interview, like the first one to introduce yourself, who you are, she said, "My name's Nadine Coyle from Larkill and Derry, date of birth 15th of 6th, 85, making me a Gemini." And then she thinks for a second and goes, "What date of birth did I say? No, 15th of the 6th." And then it fades. And she's outed herself on camera. But everyone lost the plot.
Do the phone call to her mother.
Do everything.
Mommy,
do the whole thing.
Has Daddy put my passport in the car? Mommy, will you look at my handbag for my passport? And it was all a lie. She knew.
How old was she?
She was 16. She was meant to be 18.
What is it about you lot pretending you're different ages?
Just
that's
cool,
so
isn't it?
cute because she wanted to make it through.
That's fine. But then she got in Girls Aloud. It actually worked out much better.
You
for
see?
her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything
and
happens for
we
a
ended
reason.
up with an amazing moment of her sobbing in the back of a Renault Espace being driven away. Sarah Pascoe's had a very exciting lockdown.
Exciting. Have I?
Yeah.
Have I?
Well, haven't you?
Oh yeah. Well, I got married just beforehand, so I've had a very exciting time.
Whoa.
Yes, thank you. But yeah, so it should have been like kind of like the new, you know, married bliss and everything. And then there was a lockdown, and we were stuck together in the flat all of the time. And it's not a very it's not very good for romance. So I decided I would do something to kind of keep the romance going. And then what I did was very cliche. I bought some sexy pants on a website. I brought them to show you. This is not unhygienic, by the way, because they've never been worn because they're too complicated. And if you can see that, you see how there's too many leg holes? This is the pants that I brought. They were very expensive. And also, I showed one of my friends, I showed Lou, and she was like, "Oh, they're crotchless." They're not, I promise. That's the crotch there. They do have a crotch. Vouch for me, Nashville. So there we go. And so they first arrived. I didn't know it was going to be so difficult, so I just sent my husband out, like, "Oh, come in the bedroom in 5 minutes, you'll get a nice surprise." And I just thought, I'll just put my pants on, because I've never had trouble before, you know. Just assume it's going to be easy. I wasn't wearing shoes, I should say. It wasn't as complicated. And then I realised, oh, no, there's always other leg spaces. And then I thought, oh, maybe it's for arms. So those kind of arm pants. Yeah, maybe that's why they're so sexy. And first of all, I was just, you know, very confused about it. And then I got annoyed, and then I felt lonely. And eventually I got, you know, very frustrated and angry, and I started crying. And my husband was at the door, kind of like, "Let me in, what's wrong?" I was like, "I can't get these pants on." And then he was like, he's Australian, like, "Oh, I'll show you." Because I think he thought I was being really stupid. And, like, he would just show me how to put on underwear. And then he came in, and then he was flummoxed as well. And then he asked, like, "Well, what website did you get them from?" And so I told him, and then he found the page, and he, like, shoved his phone in my face. And what I was looking at was this woman, and she was much, much younger than me, much thinner, with very big boobs, and she was all shiny with oil. And she must have been like a Mensa member, because she was wearing these. And he was like, "That's what they're supposed to look like?" The sex was cancelled.
I said earlier you've been married for 40 years, but oddly, I think I'm right in saying you never proposed, Samuel.
Did I? Mix up things. I want to hear this story. Go. You never proposed?
I don't remember. Well, I don't remember it actually. I do remember you having some invitations in your hand and saying, "This is when this is happening."
No, that's not what happened. No, I said my grandfather is very ill, and he's going to die, and he's very concerned that we are not married. So we have to get married now so that he can walk me down the aisle. That was his concern, that I was the last of his grandchildren not to be walked down the aisle in marriage. So we have to get married. So now you have to ask him if you may marry me, and then you have to ask me, will I marry you? And you did.
I did?
Yes, you did. Okay, you know what? It doesn't matter.
But the wedding itself.
It was amazingly
That was the
romantic.
story.
It was all romantic. I got down on one knee and did the whole thing.
No, it was semantical, but you know, we did
I didn't
do
say
it.
semantical. I said romantic.
You'll get through this. You'll get through this. You'll get through this.
So much, Grandma, I needed that issue to deal with later on today.